Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link in the upper right hand corner to my Patreon page. So some of you guys may have watched my deck tech video yesterday about the Simic Merfolk list that I've been tuning over the last couple of weeks. At first I started off running Collected Company with Noble Hierarchs. I cut the Aether Vials, cut Master of Waves. Eventually it evolved to this really aggressive 1 and 2 drop list running Metallic Mimic, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. But as you watch these videos, keep in mind that everybody's like testing these new green cards. Everybody's got a different take on it, right? There's no real right or wrong answers right now. I mean, on top of the fact that we still don't know what's going to come in Rivals of Ixalan, what new Merfolk cards we're going to get that could potentially affect the way that we build a blue-green Merfolk deck. The metagame is always changing. It's going to take a long time to figure out, what we want to do with the deck moving forward. So no wrong answers, no right answers. We're just all having fun playing Magic. And I have to say this list has been a lot of fun. Even when I lose, I don't know. I love playing in aggro decks. Merfolk has always appealed to me for that reason. It's very aggressive. This particular build is just particularly aggressive. So I'm here with, let's see, this is a queue, modern queue, so it's just going to be one match, it's not a league. Let's see what I had for opening hand. So a lot of good stuff. You can see some of the new cards here. Got Kumena Speaker, Merfolk Branchwalker, and Metallic Mimic, but unfortunately 0 lands, so we're going to have to mulligan that. So looks like the opponent mulliganed as well. Now this is a nice hand. I can keep this one. This is an example of a hand where Kumena Speaker gets on the battlefield through Aether Vial, even if we don't have access to green mana. You can see how that more often than not, Kumena Speaker is just very easy to get onto the table. So the opponent kept his 6, his or her 6, and let's just go ahead and see what the opponent did with his scry. All right, so I kept, opponent kept, he put the card on top, and I'm going to put that on top because it's a sweet card. What am I playing? Okay, so it's Tron. Expedition map. It's a nice opening, especially on a mulligan. But I can't complain because I've got a sweet opening of my own. So go island into Aether Vial. So black, green, Tron. These guys play Fatal Push. Sometimes they play Fog, especially out of the sideboard. They play green, I guess, for World Breaker. Thrag Tusk sometimes out of the sideboard. So opponent casts Ancient Stirrings, and they put Urza's Power Plant into their hand. So that means with the Expedition map, they are on their way to having Tron online. They have all the pieces they need right now. So for my turn, I'm going to take Aether Vial up. And you drew a Silvergill, which is pretty sweet. But if you have a Mimic in hand, you want to lead with that guy because he gives value to every other creature that follows. Looks like the opponent might not have a land drop this turn. They drew and started passing priority, but maybe they did that accidentally. Let's see. Oh, they do have a land. Right, we just saw that off of Ancient Stirrings. Okay, Chromatic Sphere. And yeah, I imagine they're going to leave those 2 lands up to activate Expedition Map on my turn and get their last Tron piece. So before the opponent's turn ends, I'm going to bring Kumena Speaker in with Aether Vial, and because of the Mimic, this guy is going to enter as a 3/3. Now I mentioned in the deck tech how simple it is in our deck to keep this guy activated as getting +1/+1. In this case, it's the end of the second turn, end of my second turn, and I already have an island which turns it on, and I have another Merfolk which turns it on, and I'm going to have more Merfolk soon. So this guy's always a 2/2. Even if they wipe our board, we almost always have an island. So as I said, always a 2/2. But this time he enters as a 3/3 because of Metallic Mimic. Metallic Mimic is one of the big things I'm testing. So look out for how this guy performs in these videos that I'm going to be uploading here. So take Aether Vial up to 2, drew another Mimic. So that can make our guys pretty big. I'm gonna go to combat though here. Activate the Mutavault. Now, the opponent's at 20. We're swinging here for 7. He's gonna go down to 13. If we bring in another Merfolk, it's going to get a +1 counter from Metallic Mimic. If we play a Lord the following turn, we should have enough to just close things out. I don't think that playing the Lord now changes the math very much. I have to say, though, this was one of the earliest matches that I played with this build, and I was still a little bit too much in the mindset of the mono-blue, tempo-oriented build. This deck is really aggressive. And I think it would have been correct to just get the Lord out onto the table and push as much damage as possible. I think that's just going to be the correct path most of the time. Even if the opponent drops a Tron land and plays Ugin and wipes our board, you know, we still got 3 creatures in hand. We should really just push here. So in this case, though, I think I just realized that it was going to be a 2-ish turn clock anyway, so didn't bring in the Lord. Opted to play safe and wait to the opponent's end step to bring in a creature. All right. The opponent has a Karn with their activated sort of Tron lands. And it looks like he's trying to make me exile something from my hand, which is a weird choice. I've got creatures on board. I've got an active Aether Vial. I missed a land drop last turn. Mutavault can be really hard for them to deal with because if they get Ugin on the table and try to board wipe me, this guy will stay around. Karn could have gotten rid of Mutavault, might have been a reasonable decision. But instead, he got something out of my hand, so I'm just going to get rid of one of my Island Walk Lords, I think. Oh no, I'm sorry. I got rid of the Mimic, because at this point, I think I can just push for lethal. And getting the instant effect, the instant buff from the Lords is probably more important here. So, drew a Cavern of Souls, played the Silvergill Adept, entered as a 3-2 because of the Mimic. Now, if we look at the math here, we've got 3, 3, 2, and 2, so that's 10. And if I bring the Lord in, that would be lethal and just go for it. But the opponent does have green-black up. So they could have a Fatal Push, and if I go for it and miss it, if the opponent Fatal Pushes the Lord, I've only got 10, and they could potentially take things over with Karn and whatever else they've got in hand. So I drew another Lord. So instead, let's see. So activate Mutavault. It's exactly 10 now, so I decided to go for Karn here. It allows me to keep the Lord in hand, and again, not overextend on the board. The opponent has black mana. They're just cycling Chromatic Sphere, cycling another Chromatic Sphere. Looks like they don't have anything for the black mana. They were probably digging for that Fatal Push. You know, let's see. They had that black mana floating. Past to blocks. Now they have no mana, but I was already attacking Karn. I couldn't change my target, so at that point, it wouldn't have really made sense to throw the Lord onto the table. So Karn's out of the picture. Still have a really solid board. The opponent could drop an Ugin, which would really set us back. Okay, tapping 2 towers. That probably means Wormcoil Engine. Okay, Chromatic Sphere, Sylvan Scrying. What did they get with that? Ghost Quarter, so they can take me off of my Mutavault. A little bit rough. Okay, so we're going to bring a Lord in here. Enters as a 3-3 because of Mimic. And drew another Lord. So we have options here. We can activate Mutavault, bring in 1 Lord, and then we'd be swinging basically with... let's see, it's already a 3, so it'd be 4, 4. The opponent blocks. I guess our biggest creatures are going to be 5s if we do that. So the opponent would block one of our 5s and go up to 18. He would then take 8 from these guys, and then 9 from these guys is 17. So I don't think we have lethal. And the opponent would be left with a Wormcoil Engine, but we'd still have a really big board. Another option is to play a Lord with mana and then activate Aether Vial. Don't get to attack with Mutavault in that case, but our creatures all get bigger. In that case, it becomes harder for the opponent to block our bigger creatures because, well, he could do it with the Wormcoil Engine if he feels like he's up against the wall. So if he blocks one of our 6s, then he would take let's see, 5, 5, and 6. So 16 goes with 18. He'd be at like 2 life. If he does it the other way and blocks one of the lords, or the lord that's attacking, he would take 6, 6, and 5, which again is 17. So it goes up to, oh, he's going up to 19. So yeah, he'd be at like, he'd have a couple points of life left after any of our attacks here. Then he'd go up to 8 or something like that, but then we have another big attack the following turn with all these lords. So I think in the end I decided to just play one of these lords and then activate Aether Vial and bring him onto the table. I'm going to swing with everybody. Now again, the opponent can block any of these creatures, gain some life, and live to the next turn without too much life, but I don't think the opponent realized that opportunity and just chose to concede. Not sure if he actually plays Ugin. We saw Karn. So in hindsight, I think that I was a little bit too passive in that game. I went after the Karn instead of going for lethal, which in this build I think is just generally going to be the wrong call. You always want to just be going for the throat. So that was game 1. We still got there, even though we sort of slow rolled it. Look away if you don't want to see the match result. I'm going to click out of this window now. All right, so I am back now for game 2. Let's have a look at the opening hand. So this is pretty nice. I mean, I could deal with having 1 fewer land, but you can't complain if you've got 3 creatures and an Aether Vial. Opponent kept 7. Okay, starting off with Ancient Stirrings. Let's open up the chat and see what the opponent did. Pithing Needle. So it was pretty good that I got to see that, actually, because it made me not play out my Aether Vial on turn 1. Instead, I'm going to lead with Kumena Speaker. You know, if we know that the opponent has a Pithing Needle, why waste our first turn? Okay, so I'm just going to go and get a Breeding Pool and play Kumena Speaker. Since we have an island, Speaker is a 2/2. It's unfortunate that the opponent has the Pithing Needle, but it's great that we know about it. It's a card that does nothing in his hand, and you know we have a card that does nothing in our hand as well, but not wasting any tempo because of it. Not enjoying all these extra land draws here. So I'm going to get in for 2 here. As I've mentioned, it's typically correct to be as aggressive as possible. But if you have cards like Branchwalker or Silvergill Adept that can get you card advantage in the early part of the game, it's usually correct to play them out first, especially if the opponent has a bunch of removal. Better for them to waste their removal, or rather spend their removal on your less important creatures than your Island Walk Lords. We're going to swing for 2 on turn 2 with Kumena Speaker. No Lords on the table, but we're still pushing aggressive damage. Okay, so play the Botanical Sanctum so it comes in untapped on turn 2. Get this Branchwalker on the board. And let's see what the Explorer is. So that's excellent. We're definitely going to keep that on top. It's a little bit of a bummer that the opponent knows that I have it. But still, better to know that that's coming. We can plan our next turn. So the opponent's going to use his mana before the end of the turn to get rid of that 3/2 Branchwalker. So you saw, if I had played out the Master of the Pearl Trident, that guy would have just gotten Fatal Pushed, and I still would have done the 2 damage. Okay, second Tron piece. Alright, so the opponent has an Oblivion Stone. This guy takes 5 to sacrifice and destroy my team, so I should have, if he doesn't have Tron next turn, I should have another turn at least to keep pushing damage. Alright, so Oblivion Stone on the table. We don't really like that, especially since we know that there's a Ceremonious Rejection coming up here. So I'm just going to play the Lord here, get in for what I can. I might have wanted to play Mutavault there. Actually, I'm sorry. Totally not. I wanted to play blue mana to leave up for Ceremonious Rejection. I was thinking Mutavault so that I'd have attackers even after Oblivion Stone, but we definitely wanted to leave mana up for Ceremonious Rejection. Alright, Speaker has already done 5 damage. That's great work for a 1-drop. Okay, so here's Sylvan Scrying. That's going to go get the tower, which will give the opponent access to the 5 mana I was talking about. And they're just going to crack Oblivion Stone right now. Usually experienced players would wait until my turn, but I don't think there's really much of a difference in this case. So opponent is going to get to wipe my board. Not too big of a deal, just a 2-for-1. We've both got 4 cards in hand. And I know he has a Pithing Needle, and he knows that I have a Ceremonious Rejection. That Spreading Seas is sensational. I can go ahead and play out my Mutavault now. That'll be an attacker soon. And I can hopefully just take him off of Tron for a little while. So we'll hit that tower that he just played. We're looking to draw some creatures here. Silvergill Adept is good, but we actually probably wouldn't have played it anyway, even if we could, just because we have this Ceremonious Rejection. I'll play the Aether Vial now, which will probably prompt my opponent to play out his Pithing Needle. Okay, so he's going to start by naturalizing my Spreading Seas. That's definitely sideboard tech. Pretty good answer. And here's the Pithing Needle. Opponent has 1 mana floating. He chooses to name Aether Vial rather than Mutavault because he has the Ghost Quarter to handle the Mutavault. Okay, they pass the turn. They're down to 2 cards. I'm going to have 4 cards in hand after I draw here. We'll take Aether Vial up anyway. I'm sorry. I'm going to pause for a second and show you guys what my sideboarding strategy was for this match. So you can see that I took out... Oh, this looks like a slightly older version because I still had Akira in the main deck. So let's see. Got 4 Cursecatchers out, 2 Harbingers out. And I still had negates in the sideboard. So I'm going to have to try to think pretty hard about what I brought in. I definitely brought in the 3 Ceremonious Rejections, and I brought in 3 Natural States. They can be great for getting rid of an Oblivion Stone if the opponent doesn't have the mana up to destroy, to activate and wipe my board. Natural State can destroy an Expedition map, like on turn 1. If the opponent plays Expedition map, I can just destroy it right away, keeping them off of Tron for a little while. So it looks like I brought in... Let's see, this is 1. Oh, well, I think I brought in 1 negate just to add 1 extra counterspell on top of the 3 Ceremonious Rejections. So that's 3 Ceremonious, 3 Natural State, and 1 negate. So it should be 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 4 counterspells, 3 Natural States. So I could have an answer to this Pithing Needle if I draw into a Natural State, but we don't really need this Aether Vial right now. That was a pretty good draw. I have a Lord now, so I can play my Cavern of Souls, get Silvergill on the table, and draw a card. Another land. So, I'm running 18 lands. It's possible I was on 19 at this point, but I'm pretty sure I was already down to... no, it would have been 19, I think, because I had Akira in the deck. And we still have that blue mana up for Ceremonious Rejection. Opponent is going to go for Ancient Stirrings. Let's see what that dug up. Karn. So it's pretty good. All right, so they used that Tron mana to get Karn onto the stack, but we have the Ceremonious Rejection. The opponent knew about it, and we're both down to 1 card. Okay, we'll use Aether Vial's ability, and there's a Branchwalker. That's pretty solid. I think I'm just going to activate Mutavault and attack here. Opponent has the Ghost Quarter. It's a pretty clean answer to the Mutavault. Swinging for 8. See if the opponent lets us get in. All right, so they didn't activate the Ghost Quarter. We can follow up the Branchwalker, put a little more pressure on them. And what's this going to do for us here? Let's use another Branchwalker. I like that. I'm going to put it on top. Or let's see, did I? Let's see. Maybe I felt I had enough pressure and would rather just draw into... Ceremonious Rejection or negate. It's interesting. I think I actually put that in the graveyard. I love doing these replays because I always learn something from them. So opponent again going with Ancient Stirrings. Let's see. I think we can check it this way, right? Okay, so he found another Karn. This guy must just play 4 Karns, I guess. Maybe that's typical for this green-black build. Okay, so landing another Karn, Exiles my lord. I've still got lethal on the table, but Ghost Quarter handles the Mutavault, so not quite. And we might want to try to get rid of Karn, since we have the opportunity. Well, there's one of those natural states I was talking about. Alright, let's activate Mutavault, force the opponent to use his Ghost Quarter, I guess. I don't know if in the replay I can tell for sure who was attacking what. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to. It doesn't say like attacking Karn, attacking Eggroll Sparks, but I think because I knew the opponent had the Ghost Quarter, I might have gone. I was going after Karn, but I can't remember if I was going after Karn with both creatures or just one of them. Let's see how the damage panned out. Oh, there's a Fatal Push on the Branchwalker, leaving a Silvergill Adept. And alright, it looks like I attacked the opponent with the Silvergill Adept. So opponent's down to 5. And, you know, in hindsight, I should have kept that land in hand just to have stuff to pitch if Karn decides to target my hand. I mean, he can't... Oh, he could exile a permanent next turn, but that would kill his Karn. Yeah, no reason to play out that land there. That was a little bit of a misstep. But it's important to be as careful as we can all the time. Okay, another Tron land. Opponent has 0 cards. He's going to make me exile something, so at this point I might as well use the natural state to kill Pithing Needle. So there's another natural state. It's kind of a bummer. I'm just going to attack the opponent with Silvergill Adept. Silvergill Adept's not going to be able to deal with Karn, so might as well just sort of throw a Hail Mary and, excuse me, attack the opponent's life total. Wow, so that was a potentially game-losing mistake. I've made plenty of these myself, misclicks in Magic Online, but the opponent just F6'd through their turn. They didn't activate Karn. I'm here with Silvergill Adept. The opponent has 1 card in hand. Huge mistake. It gives me a chance at least here against this Karn. So there's a Ceremonious Rejection. Pretty solid. I think we're just going to attack with Silvergill Adept and cross our fingers. His opponent there was complaining about his misclick, and definitely feel for the guy. There's an Ancient Stirrings. We can see what it reveals. Oblivion Stone. Okay, well, we have the Ceremonious Rejection. Karn is going to get rid of my Silvergill Adept, so making things hard for us. Oh, there's a map. I'm going to let that resolve. I don't really care about his lands at this point. Oblivion Stone is going to get ceremoniously rejected. And yeah, we're just hoping to draw creatures here. I'm keeping the natural state in my hand because I'm not going to play a creature if I draw it. Hopefully I'll be able to use Aether Vial. If Karn tries to either exile Aether Vial or a card from my hand, I can activate Aether Vial in response, right? We're not going to main phase any creatures. Oh, that's awesome. So, yep, we'll keep the Silvergill in hand. Opponent has no cards, and I think at this point there was nothing he could have to get around this. He's trying to make me exile a card from my hands. Even if he tried to exile Aether Vial, I could have put my creature in response. But then he would have needed a removal spell or something. So I'm going to exile the natural state. And let's see. Opponent choosing to crack his Expedition map. Gets a Sanctum of Ugin. Oh, so a second Karn. He's going to, let's see. All right, so Sanctum of Ugin gets activated. What is the opponent going to get off of that? I'm not sure if it said yet what he got off of it. Oh, a Wormcoil Engine. So that's pretty rough. Okay, so the opponent cast another Karn. The other one's going to go away, and he's now going to try to make me exile a card from my hand. Now, this was obviously not the best play for them, right? They could have exiled the Aether Vial, which would have made me put Silvergill into play. Then Aether Vial would have been gone. I would have drawn a card off of Silvergill Adept, but then the opponent could have exiled the Silvergill Adept from the board with the new Karn. Instead, I'm going to be able to put this creature onto the board, and that's just going to end the game. See, even though I've lowered the curve getting rid of Master of Waves, the deck still has a fair amount of resilience with card draw off of Silvergill Adept and Spreading Seas. This game, I'm going to open the opponent's graveyard. We went through, I think, an Oblivion Stone. We countered another Oblivion Stone. 3 Karns, I think. The opponent had a Wormcoil Engine in hand. 3 Karns. That's pretty crazy. Okay, so, yeah, the opponent conceded at that point. All right, so we got there against Black-Green Tron. The opponent kind of punted that game. They missed a Karn activation, which gave us a window of opportunity, and then looked like a misplay between not exiling the Aether Vial when they could have, and then exiling my creature. They just sort of messed it up. But anyhow, pretty aggressive. I could have been much more aggressive in game 1. But I'm still getting used to the list. Again, I've been testing it, learning sort of the ins and outs of how it works. As you saw, I still have Akira at this point. That has since been sort of tweaked out of the list. I have only 2 drops and 1 drops at this point. But thanks for watching. Please let me know your thoughts on how the match went. What could have gone differently? Did I miss any lines? Did I miss anything in my commentary? Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you'd like to subscribe my channel, please check out the link to my Patreon page. And I'll see you guys in the next video where I continue testing this new blue-green Merfolk build. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon. Bye.